So, I don't know if you've heard or not, but apparently Vancouver has decided to legalize heroin, meth, and a few other hardcore drugs. So, I was kind of shocked this morning. I didn't believe it. I thought it was fake news like everybody else. You know, somebody needs clicks, somebody needs, something to rise and get everybody stirred up. And, as a bonus mom, it's kind of freaking me out because I feel like the world is ending as we know it, right? Morals, values, drugs, and I know people can argue that alcohol has the same effects or marijuana has the same effects. As much as I believe that there should be regulations and restrictions, the age and considering what people do with those drugs, driving, going to work, things like that. I feel like once we legalize hardcore drugs, how is that really going to benefit society? I was under the impression, and yes, a little naive, I get it, but I was under the impression that the government was supposed to help us. Like, we were supposed to be saved from ourselves. Like, there are things in place because some people don't know any better, right? So I did a little research, and they're supposed to open their first bricks and mortar location, so an actual storefront to sell these drugs in minimum quantities. So they're trying to keep it safe. Anyway, so it's supposed to open on January 31st, so pretty soon, right? And there's this gentleman who apparently lived on the streets, was a drug addict himself. His brother was a drug addict, so he's actually the one that's going to do it. And in his mind, he's doing it for the purpose of, and I wrote it down, access to safe and tested supplies and educate people on how to end their addiction. So by giving them a controlled substance, so to speak, in the sense that it's been tested, it's safe, now we're going to end overdosing. We're going to teach people how to get out of those addictions. Now, why would the government legalize it to help people end the addiction? And some would say, oh, it's because the government spends so much money trying to help people get through those addictions, the clinics, and this way it's more controlled. But when I did further research, they stand to gain almost $46 billion in tax revenue. That's insane. So tell me they're doing this for the people. Tell me they're doing this so that people stop overdosing. It looks good on paper, but ultimately the goal is how much money can we make? And that's pretty sad, actually. I really hope that they do save people, that this is something to help the addictions and help people get over, whatever they need to get over, because honestly, the last 2 years have been really hard. And I had a friend of mine, I have a friend, but her father had a liquor store, and he would always say the best years are the worst years. So, the last 2 years have been really hard for people. So I can understand taking to drugs. I don't necessarily agree with it. It's not something that I would want to do. But I probably did have more wine than I should have. When you're home and you're furloughed and you're sequestered, what do? You entertain yourself. But we don't have access to these kind of drugs. And it's concerning. It's a little alarming. The government would rather make a ton of money off of us, which is, I guess some people would say normal. But I think there should be some cause for concern. How do we know if they're on those drugs when they come to work? I had a lady that worked for me a long time ago, sweet as can be, but I found out later on that she had a 6-pack basically in her trunk and a cooler. So I would sneak into the break room and smell her drink container just to be sure that it wasn't alcohol. And vodka doesn't smell like anything, but I could smell the difference of beer. Go ahead 15 years, and now as a store manager, I have to look in their eyes to see if they're bloodshot, and then I can't even ask, like, are you smoking something you shouldn't be smoking? Like, these people are showing up to work intoxicated or under the influence of some kind of drug, and that's dangerous. I mean, that's a liability, but how do we know they're not going to go crazy on a customer? How do we know that they're not going to endanger somebody else? These are valid questions, and as a bonus mom, I'm concerned. As a manager or a leader in a building, I'm concerned, like, what's next? And this is huge for us. Like, where is the world going? Are we that in need of supplements or something to get away from reality. You know, that's sad. And people often talk about mental health issues and, yeah, you know, forward this and subscribe here and, you know, give me a like, give me a click, and just like, you know, cut and paste this to your page that mental health is an issue. Well, it's a serious issue. And instead of fixing it or treating it, we're allowing people to become dependent on a drug that could cause them more harm. So I don't know, something to think about. Think about if this gets in the wrong hands, you know, your kid gets hold of it. You know, I joke about, with mine, I've got a 16-year-old and an 8-year-old, and I joke with my 16-year-old, I'm like, if somebody gives you a gummy at school, please don't eat it. You know, please don't eat it. Just don't. I'll buy you a bag of gummies, okay? But that's the way of the world. And I know each generation has their own thing, and maybe it just gets worse as we get older, because we just, like, back in my day, you know, I don't know. But people need to be aware that it's out there, and our kids might be able to get it, their hands on it somehow. So just wanted to let you guys know, be on the lookout. Go to Canada. Your kids have a form or an event in Canada. Be aware. All right, bye.